Okay, wow. Looks like we've got a ton to unpack today.
Definitely a lot to dive into.
Looks like someone's been doing their homework on this whole 2025 inauguration thing.
Yeah, you've really gone deep with these searches.
Tons of questions, lots of details. Definitely not just a casual glance at the headlines, huh?
No, it's like you're piecing together a puzzle.
And not just any puzzle. This is like the inauguration puzzle with like all the extra pieces.
Right, you're not just asking about the basics. It's like you want to understand every angle.
Okay, so to kick things off, let's set the stage.
Sure.
We're looking at a mountain of pasted text all about Donald Trump's inauguration in 2025, and it's clear that this is a topic that has really captured your imagination.
Yeah, and I'm noticing a really interesting pattern right off the bat.
What's that?
Well, almost every single search term includes Trump, Donald Trump, or President Trump. It's not just about the inauguration itself, it's specifically about him.
So it's not just about the ceremony, it's about the man.
Exactly.
Okay, so what does that tell us?
I think it suggests a deeper curiosity about what a second Trump presidency might look like,
Right, like you're trying to get a read on what to expect.
and maybe even trying to anticipate the potential impact, both positive and negative.
Definitely a lot of speculation going on, and that's what makes this so interesting.
Yeah, and it's not just speculation. It's like you're actively seeking information.
Right, like trying to fill in the blanks.
Take all those searches for inauguration schedule 2025, inauguration day schedule, schedule of events for inauguration.
Okay, yeah, you want the play-by-play.
Exactly. You're prepping for a big game.
And speaking of prepping, all those searches for how to watch the inauguration live stream, watch inauguration live, tell me you're planning on being glued to the screen.
It's like you want to experience it as it happens.
Oh, I get it. Like front row seats to history in the making.
Right. And you know what else caught my eye?
What's that?
All the searches for Washington, D.C., temperature in Washington, D.C., weather in Washington, D.C. It's like
Yeah.
you're considering actually being there,
Oh, wow. So it's not just virtual. You're thinking about braving the January cold in D.C.
maybe even picturing yourself bundled up like Bernie Sanders at the last inauguration.
Now, that would be an iconic photo op. And speaking of iconic moments,
Yeah.
all those searches for inaugural ball, what time is the inaugural ball, and what time does the inaugural ball start, make me think you're picturing yourself sipping champagne with the political elite.
It's like you want to experience the whole inauguration package.
The ceremony, the speeches, the celebrations, the whole shebang.
The whole 9 yards.
Exactly.
And here's another interesting tidbit. There are quite a few searches about the age of both Trump and Biden.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Trump age, Biden age. What do you think that is?
I think it reflects a curiosity about how their ages might impact their approach to the presidency.
Okay, interesting point. Like, will age bring wisdom and experience, or caution and a resistance to change?
Exactly. And, historically, we've seen both ends of the spectrum, youthful vigor and seasoned experience.
Yeah, it's a fascinating aspect to consider, especially given the challenges facing the country.
And it's not just about the presidents themselves.
Right.
I also noticed some searches for Trump wife and Donald Trump wife.
Melania's back in the picture too.
It seems so.
I wonder what that means. Are you curious about what role she'll play this time around?
Yeah, it's an intriguing question, especially given her somewhat unconventional approach to the First Lady role in the past,
Right, like she was both visible and elusive at the same time.
and often the subject of intense media scrutiny.
Definitely someone to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got the Trumps, the Bidens, the schedule, the balls.
The whole scene.
But then there's this one search that really jumped out at me.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too. A real head scratcher.
The repeated question. Why is this the 60th presidential inauguration? And 60th inauguration, but 47th president.
It's like a trivia question that stumps everyone.
Right, like it seems simple, but then you really think about it and it's like, wait a minute.
Exactly. It highlights a quirk of American history that a lot of people overlook.
Okay, so help us out here. Why is it the 60th inauguration?
Well, some presidents, like Grover Cleveland, served 2 non-consecutive terms.
Ah, so we had 2 separate inaugurations, which bumps up the count.
Exactly. So while Trump is only our 45th president, he's had 2 inaugurations, just like Cleveland did back in the 1800s.
Makes sense. I guess I never really thought about it that way.
It's one of those little historical details that can trip you up.
Okay, now this next search is a curveball. Capital One Arena, Washington, D.C., and Capital One Arena inauguration tickets. What's going on here?
That's an interesting one. I don't think you're planning on catching a hockey game amidst all the inauguration festivities.
Maybe a concert.
Maybe, but I think it goes deeper than that.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are you thinking?
Well, remember, you're looking at this whole inauguration thing holistically. This tells me you're curious about how the inauguration ripples out beyond the official events. Maybe you're wondering if there are any special events happening at the arena that are tied into the inauguration.
Oh, so it's not just about the swearing in and the speeches. It's about the whole vibe of the city during this momentous occasion.
Precisely. The inauguration becomes a cultural phenomenon with all sorts of events and activities swirling around it.
It's like the Super Bowl of politics, in a way.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. You've got the main event, but then you've got all the pregame hype, the parties, the merchandise, the whole cultural spectacle.
The energy must be electric.
Absolutely. It's a moment when the world's eyes are on Washington, D.C., and the city comes alive with a mix of excitement, anticipation, and maybe even a bit of apprehension.
So, just to recap, we've established that you're fascinated by this inauguration, but specifically through the lens of Donald Trump.
You're not just passively watching. You're actively piecing together a puzzle, trying to understand what a second Trump presidency might look like.
And you're interested in the full experience, the ceremonies, the celebrations, the political intrigue, and even the cultural side events.
It's like you're creating your own personal inauguration itinerary, from the swearing in to the after parties.
Now, that's a deep dive if I ever saw one.
Absolutely. You're not just skimming the surface, you're diving deep into the heart of this historic moment.
And you're not alone. Millions of people around the world will be watching, analyzing, and debating every aspect of this inauguration.
It's a moment that will be remembered and analyzed for years to come.
And it all starts with those key questions. What will Trump say in his speech?
What will his priorities be? How will he approach the second term?
What kind of legacy will he seek to create?
And how will this inauguration shape the future of American politics?
Lots of big questions.
And we're just getting started.
Yeah, and, all those searches for Trump's inauguration speech, and Trump inaugural speech 2025, I have a feeling that's what you're most eager to analyze. What will his message be? Will it be a victory lap, a call to action, or something else entirely?
It's the million-dollar question, right? What's he going to say? What does it all mean?
Exactly, and I think it's safe to say that his speech will be a carefully crafted mix of appeals to his base, pronouncements about his policy priorities, and attempts to project an image of strength and leadership.
But knowing Trump, there's always a chance he'll throw us a curveball, something totally unexpected.
Oh, absolutely.
Well-
He's a master of keeping everyone guessing.
Yeah.
And that element of unpredictability is part of what makes this inauguration so fascinating.
Okay, so while we wait with bated breath for that speech, let's dig into some of the other interesting searches you've provided.
Sure.
I'm seeing a lot of queries about the historical aspects of inaugurations, things like coldest inauguration day and why is the inauguration inside? I noticed those too. It's like you're placing this inauguration within a broader historical context.
Right, like how does this one compare to past inaugurations? What are the precedents? What are the traditions?
Exactly. And, those searches about the inauguration being held indoors make me think about Ronald Reagan's second inauguration in 1985.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that the one where it was so cold they had to move it inside?
It was. The temperature in Washington, D.C. was below freezing, and they were worried about the safety of the crowds and the participants.
I can't even imagine the logistical nightmare of having to change everything at the last minute.
It must have been chaotic, but they pulled it off, and Reagan even joked about it in his speech.
He was always good at rolling with the punches.
Yeah, he had a way of making even the most challenging situations seem manageable.
So what do you think those searches tell us about how you're approaching this inauguration?
I think they suggest a curiosity about the behind-the-scenes challenges, the unexpected twists and turns that can shape these events.
Right, like it's not just about the pomp and circumstance, it's about the human stories, the moments of vulnerability, the things that don't always go according to plan.
And those stories can often be more revealing than the official narrative.
They give us a glimpse behind the curtain, a sense of the real people and the real emotions involved.
And they remind us that even the most carefully planned events can be disrupted by forces beyond our control.
Like freezing temperatures or, unexpected political developments.
Exactly. Speaking of which, I also noticed a bunch of searches related to Trump News Today, and Trump Rally.
Yes. Keeping tabs on the latest headlines, the political maneuvering, the pre-inauguration buzz.
It's like you're trying to gauge the mood of the nation, the potential for disruption or protest.
And maybe even get a sense of what Trump might say in his speech based on his recent activities and pronouncements.
Right. Like, are there any clues or hints in his pre-inauguration rhetoric that might shed light on his agenda for his second term?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
The anticipation is definitely building.
Okay, let's switch gears for a moment and talk about those searches for did Trump attend Biden's inauguration and did Trump go to Biden's inauguration? This gets to the heart of how presidents handle those transitions of power, doesn't it?
It does. It's a question of protocol, of tradition, and of respecting the peaceful transfer of power, even when you might disagree with the outcome of the election.
And historically, most presidents have attended their successor's inauguration, even if they've had a contentious relationship.
It's seen as a gesture of unity, a sign of putting the country above personal feelings.
But of course, Trump has never been one to follow the traditional script.
No, he's definitely not afraid to break with precedent.
So whether he attended Biden's inauguration or not would have been a significant symbolic act, either reinforcing or challenging those norms of presidential behavior.
It's a question that speaks to the broader themes of continuity and disruption that have defined Trump's political career.
Okay, let's talk about something that's always a factor in politics, especially when it comes to presidents. Age. You've got some searches for Biden age and Trump age, which suggests you're thinking about how their ages might impact their approach to the presidency.
Yeah, age is an interesting lens through which to view politics, especially when we're talking about a job as demanding as the presidency.
Right, the presidency requires a lot of stamina, both physical and mental.
And let's not forget that the world has changed dramatically in the past few years. We're facing a global pandemic, climate change, economic uncertainty, and a resurgence of geopolitical tensions.
It's a lot for any president to handle, regardless of their age.
So your focus on their ages suggests you're thinking about how they might approach these challenges, given their different life experiences and their potentially different perspectives on time and legacy.
Right. Does age bring wisdom and experience, or does it bring caution and a resistance to change?
It's a question that has no easy answer, and it's something that political scientists and historians will likely be debating for years to come.
Okay, let's talk about the woman behind the man. Those searches for Trump wife and Donald Trump wife. Tell me you're curious about Melania Trump and the role she might play in a second Trump administration.
The role of the First Lady is always fascinating, a blend of tradition, influence, and often controversy. And in Melania's case, it's even more intriguing given her somewhat enigmatic persona and her unconventional approach to the role in the past.
She was definitely a different kind of first lady, not as publicly engaged as some of her predecessors, but when she did speak out, her words often carried weight.
And her fashion choices, her travels, her social media presence, they all became subject to scrutiny and interpretation.
So it's understandable that you'd be curious about what a second Melania era might look like. What role will she play this time around? Will she be more visible? Will she be more outspoken?
It's a question that we'll all be watching closely.
Okay, let's dig into something that I think reflects your broader curiosity about the inauguration. Those searches for Capital One Arena, Washington, D.C., and Capital One Arena inauguration tickets, you're not just interested in the official events, you're thinking about the whole vibe of the city during Inauguration Week, the cultural side events, the concerts, the parties, the protests.
It's like you're saying, okay, I get that the inauguration's a political spectacle, but what else is going on? What are the concerts, the parties, the protests, the art exhibits, the street performances that are happening in response to this moment?
Right, you're interested in the cultural echoes, the ways in which the inauguration reverberates through the city, inspiring both celebration and dissent.
And I think that curiosity reflects a deeper understanding of how inaugurations function. They're not just about the transfer of power. They're also about the expression of national identity, the articulation of hopes and anxieties, and the creation of a shared cultural experience.
So, your interest in the Capital One Arena suggests you're looking for those moments of connection, those shared experiences that go beyond the political theater and tap into the broader cultural significance of this.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey there. Welcome to Good Advice Giver. First, we want to start by saying a massive thank you for tuning in today. Whether you're a long-time listener or you're joining us for the first time, we're truly grateful to have you here. We know you've got a lot of options when it comes to podcasts, so the fact that you're spending your time with us means the world. So thank you.
That's right. We're excited to have you with us because here on Good Advice Giver, we cover just about everything. Whether you're interested in sports, relationships, sex, money, finances, business, digital marketing, music, education, movies, comedy, or something else entirely, we've got it all. No topic is off limits here, and we dive deep into real, meaningful conversations that matter.
We've also got a mix of male and female hosts, so you're always getting a well-rounded perspective on every topic we cover, from business strategies to personal development, from car shopping to digital products like affiliate marketing. We bring a little bit of everything to the table. Our goal is to offer advice, insights, and some laughs along the way to make sure you feel welcome and engaged, no matter what brought you here.
And it doesn't stop there. We're not just about giving great advice, we're about action. On this podcast, we even sell products and services we believe in, from affiliate marketing opportunities to cars and more. So whether you're looking to boost your business or find practical ways to improve your everyday life, you're in the right place.
As always, we want you to stay connected with us. Be sure to download this episode so you can listen anytime, anywhere, whether you're commuting, working out, or just relaxing. And while you're at it, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. That's the best way to stay in the loop for upcoming episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and even giveaways.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're posting extra content there, including video podcasts and deep dive discussions you won't want to miss. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what topics you want to hear more about.
Lastly, check out the link below in the description for exclusive offers, resources, and more ways to connect with us. We're here for you, and we can't wait to bring you more valuable content. Thanks again for tuning in to Good Advice Giver. Let's get started.
And who knows, maybe you'll even find yourself at a concert or a party, rubbing shoulders with people from all walks of life who are all drawn to the energy and excitement of this historic moment.
Now, let's shift gears for a moment and delve into those searches about Trump swearing in, inauguration schedule, and inauguration day schedule. It seems you're not just interested in seeing Trump take the oath, but you want to understand the whole choreography of the day, the timing, the rituals, the transitions between each event.
It's like you're saying, okay, I'm going to be watching this historic moment, but walk me through it. What am I actually looking at? What's the meaning behind each step?
Exactly. And I think that attention to detail reflects your overall approach to this topic. You're not just passively consuming information, you're actively trying to make sense of it, to connect the dots, to understand the deeper significance of each element.
And let's not forget that inaugurations are steeped in tradition and symbolism. Every gesture, every word, every movement is carefully choreographed to convey a particular message, to evoke a particular emotion, to reinforce the continuity of American democracy.
So by understanding the schedule, the timeline, the sequence of events, you're not just watching a spectacle, you're deciphering a code, a language of ritual and symbolism that has evolved over centuries.
And that's what makes this so fascinating. It's not just about the politics, it's about the history, the culture, the shared stories that we tell ourselves about who we are as a nation.
Now, those searches for Trump inauguration speech, Trump's inauguration speech, and Trump inaugural speech 2025, tell me you're really hanging on his every word, right? You're not just listening to a speech, you're trying to decipher a code to glean insights into his intentions, his priorities, his vision for the future.
It's like you're saying, okay, Trump, show me your cards. What's the game plan for this next chapter? What are the big ideas, the bold pronouncements, the policy shifts that will define your second term?
And knowing Trump, it's likely to be a mix of familiar themes: make America great again, economic nationalism, strong borders, but there's always the possibility of a surprise, a curveball that no one saw coming.
Absolutely. He's a master of the unexpected, of keeping everyone on their toes. And that element of unpredictability is part of what makes his presidency and this inauguration so fascinating.
So as you listen to that speech, keep your ears peeled for those subtle shifts in tone, those unexpected phrases that might reveal a deeper strategy or a new direction.
Remember, inaugurations are not just about looking back. They're also about looking forward. They're about setting the tone for a new era. And in this case, with Trump back at the helm, that tone is likely to be bold, assertive, and perhaps even a little bit defiant.
Okay, let's talk about those searches for did Trump attend Biden's inauguration and did Trump go to Biden's inauguration? This gets to the heart of how presidents handle these transitions of power, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a question of protocol, of tradition, and of respecting the peaceful transfer of power, even when you might disagree with the outcome of the election. It's about rising above the partisan fray and acknowledging the peaceful transfer of power, a cornerstone of our system. Did Trump ultimately uphold that tradition? It's a question that historians will likely debate for years to come. But what's interesting is that you're even asking the question.
You're not just looking at the events themselves, you're examining the unwritten rules, the unspoken expectations, the nuances of behavior that reveal the true dynamics at play. It's like you're reading between the lines of history.
Exactly. And speaking of history, those searches for 60th inauguration but 47th president, and why is this the 60th presidential inauguration, really got me thinking. This isn't just Trump's second inauguration. It's a unique moment in American history.
We're not just seeing a president return for a second term. We're seeing a former president return after losing a re-election bid. Has that ever happened before?
Not in modern history. Grover Cleveland's situation back in the 1800s was different. He won his second term directly after his first recount. This is truly uncharted territory. It adds a whole new layer of complexity to understanding Trump's motivations and the public's reaction.
Imagine the historical comparisons that will be made. Historians will be poring over the speeches, the events, the public sentiment of both inaugurations, trying to draw parallels and contrasts. It's a political scientist's dream.
And speaking of speeches, you've got a ton of searches about Trump inauguration speech, Trump's inauguration speech, and Trump inaugural speech 2025. It's clearly the main event for you, the moment you're most eager to analyze and dissect.
You're not just waiting for a policy speech, you're waiting for a performance, a moment of political theater that could set the tone for his entire second term. What kind of Trump will we see on that stage? Will it be the fiery populist, the deal-making pragmatist, the statesman seeking unity, or maybe a combination of all three?
The possibilities are endless, and that's what makes it so captivating. Remember, inaugurations are often about storytelling. They're about crafting a narrative that explains the past, justifies the present, and offers a vision for the future.
And you're clearly eager to see how Trump will shape that narrative, how he'll weave together the threads of his first term, the events of the past 4 years, and his aspirations for the future.
I'm particularly curious to see if he addresses the elephant in the room, the unprecedented nature of his return to office. Will he acknowledge the historic significance of this moment? Will he try to downplay the controversies of his past? Or will he lean into the narrative of the outsider who defied the odds and came back to finish what he started?
And remember, it's not just about the words, it's about the delivery, the tone, the pacing, the gestures, the facial expressions. They all contribute to the overall message and how it's received by the audience.
It's a performance that will be analyzed and debated for years to come, just like his first inauguration speech. People will be looking for clues, for hints about his mindset, his priorities, his strategy for governing in this new era.
So as you watch that speech, pay close attention to the nuances, the subtle shifts in tone, the pauses, the emphasis on certain words or phrases. Those small details can often reveal more than the grand pronouncements.
Now let's shift gears for a moment and talk about those searches for inauguration highlights and speakers at inauguration. It seems you're not just interested in Trump's speech, you're interested in the whole package, the entire spectacle. You're looking for the moments that will be etched in our collective memory, the sound bites that will be replayed on the news, the images that will become iconic representations of this inauguration.
It's like you're saying, okay, I want the full sensory experience. Give me the soaring rhetoric, the stirring music, the visual grandeur, the moments of drama and emotion that will make this inauguration unforgettable.
Exactly. And I think that desire for a multi-sensory experience reflects a deeper understanding of how inaugurations function. They're not just about the transfer of power, they're about creating a shared national narrative, a collective memory that binds us together as a nation.
And those highlights, a poignant prayer, a stirring rendition of the national anthem, a heartfelt tribute to a fallen hero, an unexpected moment of humor. They all contribute to that shared memory, to the emotional tapestry of the inauguration.
And don't underestimate the power of those seemingly small moments. They can often have a more lasting impact than the grand pronouncements, the sweeping policy statements that often fade from memory.
Now, speaking of unexpected moments, let's circle back to those searches for Capital One Arena, Washington, D.C. and Capital One Arena inauguration tickets. This tells me you're not just interested in the official events, you're thinking about the whole vibe of the city during inauguration week, the cultural side events, the concerts, the parties, the protests.
You're interested in how the inauguration spills out beyond the Capitol building and the White House, how it permeates the city, inspiring both celebration and dissent, and creating a unique moment in time that's both political and cultural.
It's like you're saying, okay, I want to witness the inauguration, but I also want to feel the pulse of the city to understand how this event is being experienced by everyday people.
Exactly. And that desire for a more immersive experience is understandable, especially given the historic nature of this inauguration. It's a moment that will be remembered and debated for years to come, and you want to be part of that conversation, to experience it firsthand, to feel the energy and the excitement of this pivotal moment in American history.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything. We've delved into your searches, unpacked their meaning, and explored the historical, logistical, and cultural dimensions of this upcoming inauguration. But ultimately, the meaning and significance of this event will be shaped by you, by your interpretations, your reactions, and your ongoing engagement with the unfolding narrative of American democracy.
So as you watch the events of January 20th, 2025 unfold, remember to keep asking questions, challenging assumptions, and connecting the dots. Pay attention not just to the speeches and the ceremonies, but to the subtle cues, the unspoken dynamics, the cultural undercurrents that reveal the true complexity of this moment.
Because inaugurations are not just about the transfer of power, they're about the stories we tell ourselves about who we are as a nation, where we've been, and where we're going. And it's up to each of us to interpret those stories, to grapple with their meaning, and to contribute our own voices to the ongoing conversation about the future of American democracy.
Well said. And remember, history is not just something we read about in textbooks. It's something we're living through, shaping and reinterpreting every day.
Yeah.
The 2025 inauguration will be a chapter in that ongoing story, and it's up to all of us to pay attention, to engage critically, and to contribute our own perspectives to the unfolding narrative.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the 2025 inauguration, we encourage you to stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. This is your story, your democracy, and your future. Make it count.
Today is your lucky day. Today is the day that our $3 website works for you, paying you directly to your PayPal daily. Imagine $3 ongoing continuous payments to your PayPal account. Imagine falling asleep and waking up to $300 in your PayPal account. How would this make you feel? How could this help you? What bills could you pay? What kind of fun could you have? What does that retirement look like now? All for a one-time payment of $3. This website is DFY done for you, fully built and completely hosted, and never stops collecting payments for you. You have spent $3 on coffee on a regular, but that coffee won't help you create multiple streams of income. Click the link below.